We'll go in the 3 and a 2 and a 1. Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome to the Front Row Movie Reviews and Merry Christmas. And if you're listening to this in July of 2025, just roll with it. It'll be okay. We are here with another episode of Zone-i-Sodes, our complete retrospective of every single Twilight Zone episode from the 1950s and 60s. I am Scott, and with me, as always, is
Brandon Davis. Ho, ho, ho.
We both have some jolly bellies of ourselves, so
yes, we do.
we fit the mold pretty well. In fact, we're both much bigger than Art Carney, but we'll get into that later, or not, maybe not. So we are here talking about a Christmas episode from the Twilight Zone, which I'm not entirely sure everyone thinks of Christmas when they think the Twilight Zone, but mostly you think New Year's because of the marathon. But Night of the Meek is one of those episodes that, because of its theme and because it has some really good acting in it, does come up quite a bit in rotation and syndication and everything else. So I think if you don't know too much about the Twilight Zone, you've probably seen Art Carney in a scraggly beard. That's what my guess is. So I'll go ahead and give a little synopsis, and then we'll hear what Rod had to say. So it's Christmas Eve, and I expect Miracle on the 34th Street to happen and to Art Carney to get beat with a cane, but that doesn't happen. But Art Carney plays Henry Corwin, who is a drunkard, and every year works at the local store as basically a mall Santa. He is on break and decides to take his break at the local establishment and goes an hour past his break, having a sandwich and about 6 or 7 shots. When Henry returns back to his job, he is completely drunk and is fired by his manager, Piglet. And it is Piglet. Or juror number two, if you prefer. Henry returns back to the Swallows that is his downtrodden life, and he is greeted by a sack of trash. But when he picks up the sack of trash, it turns into presents. And Henry soon learns that whatever anyone wishes, he can reach into his bag of presents and find that gift for them. And he spends the entire Christmas Eve going around to those less fortunate and giving them each the gift or gifts that they had wanted all year. And at the end, the bag is empty, and Henry has given no gifts to himself. And all he wishes for is that he can do this every single year. That is when he finds a sleigh and an elf, and the episode ends.
And here is what Rod had to say. This is Mr. Henry Corwin, normally unemployed, who once a year takes the lead role in a uniquely popular American institution, that of the department store Santa Claus and a road company version of The Night Before Christmas. Mr. Henry Corwin, ersatz Santa Claus, will enter a strange kind of North Pole, which is one part of...
Start over, sir. I'm sorry. I've been shaking my head for a bit.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
All right. This is Mr. Henry Corwin, normally unemployed, who once a year takes the lead role in the uniquely popular American institution, that of the department store Santa Claus and the road company version of The Night Before Christmas. But in just a moment, Mr. Henry Corwin, ersatz Santa Claus, strange kind of North Pole, which is one part the wondrous spirit of Christmas and one part the magic that can only be found in the Twilight Zone.
So, Brandon, go ahead and give us your first impressions of Night of the Meek.
I had not seen this episode.
Really?
Yeah.
I am surprised. Okay.
This was one I had not seen, and I was pleasantly surprised that I was filled with the Christmas spirit at the end of a Twilight Zone episode.
You didn't feel that during Howling Man?
No. No. I was inspired at the end of this episode. I think it's a very, very interesting. This is definitely an episode we have not seen its like of yet, in the run of the episodes we've been watching, and very very good to see a shot on videotape episode of a higher quality than the last one we talked about. Because this one actually feels a bit cinematic to me. It actually feels like a Twilight Zone episode, and it's interesting to see Rod in a coat out in the snow too. So
You mean the asbestos falling from the sky? Because I guarantee you that was asbestos. I guarantee it.
probably, or cornflakes, maybe, I don't know. But but yeah, I really enjoyed this episode, and it's interesting that this was directed by the guy who directed Lateness of the Hour, Jack Smite, and they actually moved the cameras around and did interesting things with it. So that was really good. Also fun to see John Fiedler in this episode too. There's just some profound things in this episode, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think this kind of proves what we were saying in our last episode when we were talking about Lateness of the Hour, that a lot of the problems came from the fact that no one knew how to use the video. And as we mentioned in the last episode, if you didn't listen to that episode, you should go back and listen. 6 episodes of The Twilight Zone were shot on Shitio, is what I like to call it. This is obviously one of them. And after the 6 episodes were shot, they found out that they saved a whopping $30,000 amongst all 6 episodes, just 30 grand. So they decided to go back to the normal cinematic film, which was a huge positive decision for the show. But I think the director and everyone else involved learned what they were doing a little bit more, and they were able to do more with it. And I think also, again, as you just mentioned, going outside, even on a set, but giving yourself more room to breathe and giving yourself more locations to play with. I mean, we've got the mall, we've got the police station, we've got the drunk house, we've got outside in a couple different alleyways. So there's a lot more to play with. And honestly, the actors, I think, are a little better. So they're able to pull it off more too. But yeah, were you still going? I'm sorry, I kind of interjected.
No, I was done.
Okay, so I have seen this episode a lot. We don't get very many uplifting episodes of The Twilight Zone. There are a few. There are a few that have a positive message and end on a happy note, but there are few and far between. But one of the ones that obviously comes to mind when you think about that, now that you've seen it, is Night of the Meek. And
yeah.
It's a story that's been told many a times about the guy down on his luck who gets the one wish that he wants, and that wish is to make everyone else's wish come true. But it's done so well here, and with the theme of Christmas just kind of, he's running around in a Santa suit the entire time. So, I mean, you get that feeling as you go. And the thing that always I remember about this episode, and this is the liberal in me coming out, so I'm going to get on a soapbox for a moment. But Henry has a little soliloquy when he gets fired by Mr. Dundee, aka Piglet, and I'm just gonna read the whole thing because it's so freaking good. I can either drink or I can weep, and drinking is so much more subtle. But as for insubordination, I was not rude to that woman. Someone should remind her that Christmas is more than barging up and down department store aisles and pushing people out of the way. Someone has to tell her that Christmas is another thing finer than that. Richer, finer, truer, and it should come with patience and love, charity, compassion. That's what I would have told her if you'd given me the chance. I don't know how to tell you, Mr. Dundee. I don't know at all. All I know is that I am an aging, purposeless relic of another time, and I live in a dirty rooming house on a street filled with hungry kids and shabby people, where the only thing that comes down the chimney on Christmas Eve is more poverty. And it goes on, but that's the key there. And he encompasses poverty and the downtroddenness that is life for many people in those few sentences. And it always, whenever I see that part of the episode, I love it and hate society all at the same time. So, Brandon, what are some things you liked about the episode?
Well, let's start with the lead of the episode, Art Carney. Really amazing to see a great dramatic performance come from a guy who at the time was a comedian, best known for playing Ed Norton on The Honeymooners. And so and there's no winking at the camera. There's no none of the big, physical comedy things that he became known for during that time. So really shows you the range that Art Carney had. And I think he grounds the episode. He's not. He says these really profound, inspirational things, and there's nothing sappy or saccharine about them, and it's the way he delivers it. And he's very matter of fact, and he just grounds it. The whole episode has a great cast. I mean, interesting to see John Fiedler, who usually plays Meek characters, play this very jerky department store manager, and he is very, very good in his role too. And great to see him at the end though in his drunken little bits that he gets to do.
All you gotta do is get him drunk, and he's a nice guy. That's all you gotta do. Just give him some brandy, he'll be fine.
But no, I love I love the whole atmosphere and the feel of it. I think that the just the fact that he's able to live out his dream and actually give people what they want, what they need, and the fact that, of course, we know his dream of really being Santa Claus comes true at the end, and it's a great message to send out that really the best gift is to be able to give to others, and I love the whole feel of the episode, and it's filled with great character actors. I love Burt Mustin, who plays the old guy Burt in this episode. He had, such a unique looking actor and such a great face and a great voice, and he's in a lot of classic TV. But this episode is just cast so well with a lot of great character actors, and I appreciate that too. So yeah, just a unique, very inspirational episode, the kind that we haven't really seen yet in our run of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, there is so much of this episode I like, and I mean, you've hit on quite a few things. Obviously, Art Carney just carries this episode, and you're right, he's subdued throughout. I mean, he gets more excited, and I love when Flaherty the cop asks if he's drunk, and he's like, yes, I am, and he does his legit. Like, it's great. But every single person in this, even Mr. Dundee, after a while, is likable. Maybe not the lady and her bratty kid, who is named Mr. Smithers, by the way. But everyone has a characteristic that makes them likable. And I think that's something else that goes along with this story is you're not supposed to hate anybody here. Mr. Dundee is a pain in the butt, and he's a jerk, but at the end of the day, he's just going to go hang out with the cop at his house on Christmas Eve. Read into that as you will. But there's some really good scenes that I love. The scene where he first starts talking to the kids, and he's coming out of the bar, he's completely sloshed, but as soon as the kids start sitting on his lap because they don't know any better, he gets that look on his face. He's just in joy, and I think that's one of the smart things about this episode is when we first see Henry, he's at the bar taking shots and trying to steal a bottle of booze. There's nothing likable about this guy. But as soon as he walks outside and the kids start sitting on his lap, you see that human look just come over his face. And it's not like a big smile. It's just a kind of shock that no matter what he does, these kids still love him. Mm-hmm. And the fact that one of the kids says they just want to get their dad a job for Christmas is another, like, just a punch to the gut that is done so well. And going back to the whole idea that none of these people are unlikable. Even the kids, when they're getting their toys at the bags, one of the kids is like, thank you and please and thank you, as he takes his toy.
I know.
These kids are polite. It's great. Another great scene is the scene where he goes into the shelter and all of them look down and disheartened, and then he starts pulling pipes and smoking jackets and sweaters of any size out of his bag. And they all just get excited, and that is something that people need to realize more is no matter who you are, no matter what your ability is, you can change a life just by being something that they need at that moment. You don't need a magic bag. You just need to give them something to latch onto and realize that life isn't as terrible as it seems to be. So I think there's a lot of good stuff going on in here. Anything else good that you want to talk about?
Ooh, no, I think you've hit pretty well. I really wanted to smack the kid. The one,
Smithers?
the one with the obnoxious mother. It was like
Yeah.
just that goofy grin he gives at the end as they're walking off and everything. I'm like, you rotten kid.
But
But he's well cast too. Everybody does their job.
he gets one of the best lines in the episode, though. What's your
Yeah.
name? Percival Smithers. And what do you want? A better name.
That was
It's
great.
boom,
That was
boom,
great.
boom. It's great. It's great, sarcastic and dry comedy. I love it.
Yeah, great. And we don't get a lot of comedy on Twilight Zone very often either, so that was
And
great.
sometimes when we do, we don't want it. You can see our
Yeah.
previous episodes to find out where that is. But yeah, okay, let's go ahead and talk about things we didn't like about the episode. I'll start because I only have one. It's shot on video. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, no, in all honesty, I really don't have much. I see, but and like I said, even though, like I mentioned before, the video is jarring compared to other Twilight Zone episodes, this was done much better. It's like, okay, I can live with this. It's not my choice. I'd rather it be shot on film, but it's much better. But really, this episode is structured so well, and all the scenes work, and they all lead to something, and they all lead to a point. There really isn't much else that you can say against it, and it's own entity. And yeah, I really, I can't think of anything negative. I liked everybody who was cast. There was no weak link in the cast. It was written with we complained in the lateness of the hour about the monologues and the soliloquies. These in this episode had a point, and they weren't annoying, and they weren't there just for filler. And it was very refreshing in this episode to see that. Yeah, this is I you know I'm aware of what a lot of Twilight Zone fans consider top tier. I don't know how this is considered in the Twilight Zone canon, but for me, this is a top tier episode. Not to give away any spoilers, but yeah, I think this is one of the best we've seen.
Yeah, yeah. I completely agree. And
Yeah.
you know, it says something that the episode, as much as we bashed on the lateness of the hour, it says something that this episode can rise above the fact that it has a small budget, smaller than most of the episodes will in this series, and it still can become that upper echelon episode because the story is well written, because the characters are done well, because the actors know what they're doing, and because the director knows how to handle what he's given. And this is an episode written by Rod Serling, so I have to say, as always, that this guy is a genius and he does things really well. Let's go ahead and get into our ranking of the episode. For those of you who are just joining us, you can we I don't know what the heck I just started saying there. We rank these episodes on a scale of 1 to 10, and we compare them to other episodes in the Twilight Zone franchise. So, a 10 episode would be one of the best Twilight Zone episodes of all time. A 5 would be an average Twilight Zone episode, which would still make it a really good piece of television. And a 1 would be the Bewitching Pool. So, Brandon, where would you rank Night of the Meek?
I said I consider this to be a top tier, and I think the only thing working against it's the videotape, so I'm giving it a 9.
Very good, very good. If I was watching this the first time, I think I would agree with you. And I think I would say the same exact thing because, as I said, my one detraction of this episode is that it has the video quality to it. But I have seen this episode so many times, and I continue to just love it every single time I watch it. and I can't find a fault anywhere but the fact that they cut the budget a little bit. So this is one of my favorite episodes of the Twilight Zone. And I didn't give more than 2 tens all of season 1, and I've given 3 tens in 4 weeks here, but I'm giving it a 10.
This is the second time you've given a 10 that I haven't. So
Yeah, maybe the tides are turning here. Maybe I have gotten the Christmas spirit. I don't know. What's up next? Let's see. Did I? Oh, never mind. The trouble with Templeton's next. I have not gotten the Christmas spirit. Okay. Uh, so, Brandon, go ahead and let's close out with Rod's narration, please.
Okay. A word to the wise, to all the children of the 20th century. Did that not work?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I'm just laughing at the 20th century. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay. A word to the wise, to all the children of the 20th century. Whether their concern be pediatrics or geriatrics, whether they crawl on hands and knees and wear diapers or walk with a cane and comb their beards. There's a wondrous magic to Christmas, and there's a special power reserved for little people. In short, there's nothing mightier than the meek.
And I'm going to finish this off too with the rest of that quote that I started from the monologue after he is fired, because I think it encompasses the episode pretty well. So he goes on to say, do you know another reason why I drink, Mr. Dundee? So that when I walk down the tenements, I can really think it's the North Pole, and the children are elves, and that I'm really Santa Claus, bringing a bag of wondrous gifts for all of them. I just wish, Mr. Dundee, on one Christmas, only one, that I could see some of the hopeless ones and the dreamless ones. Just one Christmas, I'd like to see the meek inherit the earth. And that's why I drink, Mr. Dundee, and that's why I weep. So you can find us at thefirmamoviereviews@gmail.com. You can email us at thefirmamoviereviews@gmail.com. Oh, I said that twice. You can find us at thefirmamoviereviews.com. No Gmail there. If you're watching us on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notify button so you can be notified when we go live for shows and you can join the conversation that way. And if you're listening to us on your podcast app of choice, please be sure to subscribe and like, and also give us a review. Those reviews help get us out to more people. Until next time, I am Scott, and with me as always has been
Brandon Davis.
And no matter what you celebrate this holiday season, I hope you find yourself with people you care about, and I hope that you help the meek inherit the earth a little bit more. Until next time, we'll see you on the couch.
Happy holidays.
Ho, ho, ho. Now I have a machine gun.